A lot of people say being your own boss is such an amazing thing, but that's not true at all, 200%. No.
But then like being an entrepreneur is very different because first of all, you want to have passion, you want to take your time, you want to have a giving value back to people, to the community.
The world. Yeah. As a delivery platform, we have more people to calm down. What is up, guys? My name is Charles Liew. Welcome to Biz Chat with Charles Liew, where we talk to real business people about real business stuff. And we are entering season 2, okay? In the first season, we spoke to leaders in their respective fields, and this season, we're going to make it a bit different because we're emphasizing on building Sarawak as a people, okay? And today, we have someone special. We have someone that we have never had on the show before, a musician. Okay, but we're gonna peel layer by layer to see exactly who he is. And today we have Jesmond Siew on the show. Okay, welcome on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us what you do.
So I actually run an organization called the Band Lab, where we actually we have a band. So it's sort of like an orchestra without the strings.
Okay.
And we do a lot of outreach activities with our organization.
Sure.
And we just help to promote music in Sarawak.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of outreach activities do you do?
So we actually go down to say like Cebu, Bintulu and stuff to actually help bands who have just started probably or have been running for years but haven't seen any results. So we just try to find out what the problems are and try to see where we can help.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
What got you into music though?
A funny story. So I was forced by my parents to start.
Oh, wow,
learning,
okay.
Yeah, to learn the piano. I mean, probably most Asian kids start off like that. Learning the piano at 6 and then violin at 8.
Sure.
I really hated it at first, but then, after time, I kind of realized that I'm pretty good at it. So yeah, that's what got me into music. And then the rest is history.
Did it take interest to be good, or did you take the forcing of parents to be good?
A really tricky question. I think the forcing of parents made me not give up halfway.
But you hated it at the start.
I hated it at the start. I didn't want to go for
Did you ponteng?
I didn't because my parents were my right, so I couldn't run away.
Sure.
Yeah, so I had to go, and it was during a time where caning and stuff was still in place.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of forced. Couldn't escape.
Sure.
But over time, we just realized, like I got less and less scolding from my teachers. I could play something and perform, and that's what really made me realize that maybe I have a thing in this.
And as your interest grew, you became more and more willing. Would you say?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
I would practice on my own.
Yeah. It's easier to get pulled towards it rather than get pushed by people, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I like that. Now, do you still play the piano? Like, what kind of instruments do you play now? What do you do in music now?
So right now, more of what I do is actually teaching.
Sure.
I do still play during my pastime. I do play in Suns, for example. I play a few instruments there.
What Suns?
So it's the State Orchestra, Symphony Orchestra Negeri Sarawak.
Sure. Okay.
But since I play a few instruments, piano, violin, saxophone and stuff, so I am placed around where I'm needed in the orchestra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you be more specific when you say and stuff? Like what kind of instruments exactly do you play?
Okay, so to say that I can play those instruments, there would be piano, violin. I do play a bit of viola, flute, a bit of clarinet and saxophone. So
how do you get good at so many different instruments? Or is it easier to shine because there are no people that are really, really good here? Like why would you be able to play so many instruments?
I think having a base understanding of music is a start, and because once you have a good understanding of that, you can apply it through different instruments as well.
Sure.
And some of the instruments are made quite similar in the sense that once you can figure out the muscles and how it works, the fingering are pretty much the same, and then it can be applied, through the same way.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one of the ways. But another thing which you mentioned as well, which is there are not many people who are like super good over here as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm good either, but I'm able to play a few.
Understand.
Like that. Yeah.
Understand. Okay. So I understand you came back to Kuching from Singapore.
From Singapore, Australia.
Australia. Yeah. How long did you spend in Singapore?
I studied there for about 4 years.
Sure. And how many years did you spend in Australia?
About 5, 6 years.
Wow. Okay. So let me just quickly ask you this. What is the major difference that you can see in terms of the music industry in Singapore, in Australia, and in Malaysia, or more specifically in Sarawak?
In the music scene, right? So I think a music scene actually exists. That's to start
Okay.
with. So where you want to carry out projects and stuff, you want to find musicians, there are places where you can go, much easier. You don't get, in Sarawak, you see the same few faces each time. So it's just a really small group that plays music.
Yes.
And they don't even do it full time, as compared to Singapore and Australia, where they do it, full blown.
We'll get to that later, why people don't do it full time, okay? But go on.
Yeah, so they have, a very interconnected, support from the government,
Yes.
from their own organizations as well.
Sure.
So it's really a thriving, I would say, relatively thriving economy there.
Because, would you say, the ecosystem there is matured,
Yep.
rather than here, it's so hard to make a start, because whenever you make a start, it's going to be starting something in just one area of that entire ecosystem. So that entire ecosystem is not ready yet. So you're always
Definitely.
just working on one thing and one thing and one thing,
Yeah.
because you're just one man having one organization under you now.
Yeah.
So it's harder without perhaps a more concerted effort from all parties involved.
Definitely,
would you say?
definitely, yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Right. So I like that. But once we get back from the break, we'll dive into more about just whether it's possible to carve out a career in musical arts in Sarawak. Talk to you later. And we're back with me, myself, Charles Liew, BIZ Chat with Charles Liew Season 2, and we're still with Jasmine. Jasmine, you have won competitions and received awards, right?
Yep.
So, award winning, I would say.
Yep.
Why is it so hard then to carve out a career in musical arts in Sarawak?
I think there is sort of a disjoint between, just winning awards and then being able to teach. So, for example, one of the problems that we're facing is that winning multiple awards obviously give us recognition and also people to believe in what we do. But one of the problems is that a lot of groups out there who are just starting out, they wouldn't in a way engage us because they feel like we're too far up. So we sort of stuck in the middle in that sense. But in terms of creating a reputation, or if we want to do something like a bigger project, like if we have to pitch to the government to do certain projects and get funding, it will be much easier because we have a backing of things to show that we can, we're qualified to do those.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a pick and choose from there.
Understand. Why is it hard to get into musical arts for a living
For a living.
in Sarawak?
Because I think we mentioned previously in the first part where there's not enough ecosystem to support. So even if we want to do something, there isn't enough support or places that we can go to do this full time, for example.
What would be the ideal then?
The ideal is that I would say probably having if you feel like you want to do something in the arts, right? Because there's no a specific defined role, there should be a place for you to be able to go. Art is where, it's part of living, so you should be a place where you can go. So for example, if you want to be a conductor full time, there should be a place where I can, teach a band or an orchestra full time. But there just isn't enough, I would say, there isn't enough market and place that we can go that support such a running of,
Understand. I
entity.
mean, so would things be easier now? Now that the internet is so prevalent, right? So would these kind of classes and things like that be more easily available as opposed to 10 years ago?
Classes, in a way, yes, but for especially when you're starting off students, it's very difficult to teach online anything, especially a music instrument. An instrument costs about a few $1,000s.
For sure, yeah.
Having that in their hands, far away from them, it's not going to be safe.
Yeah.
So it's not made it easier, and at the same time, if you're running an orchestra or a band, you can't conduct a full class, online. That's just not possible.
For sure,
So
It's
not easier in a way, yeah.
Okay. Have you tried to actually make a living out of musical arts?
Have I tried to make a living?
Because here's the thing. In my line of work, right, I run a pharmacy, true enough, but I would interview a lot of people, okay? And it's always, every now and then you see in the CV, despite their interest, they always end up being a lawyer, a pharmacist, a doctor, because it's just extremely hard to actually pursue something in the arts. And after talking to so many people, their comment is always, it's impossible. You can't do it here, right? And so we have a famous Sarawakian who left Sarawak and now he's working in the United States in big films. And then of course there's a famous guy called James Wan who actually left here as well. And I think it's sad that we have talents that are forced to leave here to go overseas to actually pursue these things. But at the same time, if it was you, right, perhaps you would actually look elsewhere as well rather than do it here, would you say?
Yes. So that's the thing. Like, if I were to be just a musician to play music, right, there wouldn't be a place to survive in Sarawak, I don't think. Like, to make this a full-time job, probably not. There's just not enough gigs to go around and not enough. There's no orchestra that will hire you.
So let me ask you this. Is it geographical then? The fact that we're an island? Is it
definitely not, no.
Okay, because Singapore is an island.
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
You're doing really well there.
So it goes back to the ecosystem then again.
For sure, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So are there people doing musical arts full-time here? Apart from teachers, what I'm saying is like really earning a living through performances and those artsy stuff. Here's the thing. I was talking to my PA yesterday, and we were comparing two. I don't want to be too specific, but there are two artists, okay, and I've spoken to both of them. I'm very close to them both, and the major difference I saw between these two people are this: one, the guy that actually does really well, he wouldn't take any other input from other people. Like, okay, if you want to make this a commercial piece, if you want me to remove my signature, if you want to do it this way, if you want to give me a photo and ask me to draw the photo, I'm not going to do it. And I think that is an artist, and he's able to do that because he has carved out something for himself. But another person, the other person is something that I find very interesting, is because she's also earning a living, but she pivoted her business always, almost every single day. And now she's got about 2 or 3 businesses. She's in social media. She's doing all this other stuff because the lure of money is there. She's doing well financially, but I don't think you can call yourself an artist if you're pursuing money every step of the way, right? Yep. So I'm asking you, do you know of anyone who is making a living truly from the manifestation of that artsy talents from within?
Honestly, not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are people like handling multiple jobs at the same time. I wouldn't say full time. Yeah, but
is it ideal to do it full time, or do you think around the world that's it's not very common to? I mean, if you go to Hollywood, people look at famous movie stars and think that is the life.
Yeah.
But 99.9% of them actually get through life by doing like being a waiter and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So is it illogical then for us to actually expect people in the arts to actually do it for a living and not have anything else?
I wouldn't say that it's illogical. I think probably a bit unrealistic in a sense, because art itself is not something that everyone can appreciate, like, with a single art. So it really definitely depends on whether you have a break or not. But whether you have a break or not depends on whether
what's a break?
Like your breakthrough.
Oh, right, okay,
people notice you and stuff.
Sure.
There's got to be an ecosystem.
Yes.
Like, you have to, like, I can be the best artist in the world, but if people in Sarawak, for example, they don't appreciate what I'm doing, my message wouldn't get out there.
Understand.
People, no one will be sharing.
So I guess people leave Sarawak because that chance of a break is just higher in a place with a ready ecosystem. Is that fair to say?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Right, guys, we're done with this segment. We'll be back with more later. And we're back to BIZ Chat with Charles Liew, and we're still with Jesmond Siew. All right, let me ask you this, okay? I understand that you excel in music, but I also know that you know, in terms of like the efforts that you're doing now, the band lab, right? It's getting harder and harder with the MCO and things like that, and it's harder to travel now, and so it's harder to reach into all of the divisions in Sarawak and things like that. And you're looking elsewhere now. You're doing a bit of stock investments yourself.
Yep.
You're looking at doing a couple of businesses on the side. So I'm scared because I don't want you to stop doing what you're really good at. I don't really want you to waste your talents, but seeing what's happening here, right? I can see that you are so deep into music, right?
I am, yeah.
But yet it's so hard to actually carve out something from it that a man's gotta eat, right? So I don't blame you for looking elsewhere as well. But I wanna know, even though we spoke about the ecosystem in Sarawak, you know, it's extremely hard for a proper artist to survive in Sarawak. Tell me what's missing, right? What could we do as a people to actually drive musical arts to excel in Sarawak?
I think as a start, I think everyone's an artist in a way or another. I think just start to create and get involved. That's the first part. Once you have that movement happening, other people will take notice. Like, you know, companies, communities will start to take notice and jump on that movement.
Can you give me one example of a movement?
Right. So, for example, if you have events after events where, you know, you just see certain groups performing, you know, and just different groups, but then with the same instruments. For example, like you have multiple orchestras going around and touring, for example, in Sarawak. And then people are inspired to do the same thing. So they will join more and more, you know, events like that, or to be even part of the group that has the scene perform. You know, the group will grow bigger and bigger.
Understand.
And just, you know, my friend, I'm missing out on that, but you're in that, so I should be joining that as well. Yeah, that kind of. But we don't have enough momentum to push for that yet. Yeah.
So what does it take for there to be momentum? I'm asking challenging questions here, guys. I mean, I know what you're thinking. I'm asking him now. So how can we get that first snowball to roll?
It starts with an idea, for sure. And then obviously funding.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, so that's another big factor that makes it work. So yeah, I mean, if I'm going to make it work so far, there is actually funding out there. But I wouldn't say that it's enough. When we first started, it was difficult as well to get funding. But now more and more, you know, after you've done it for a few years, you just have to stay in it, and then you'll be able to see, hopefully.
It's the staying in it bit that is hard sometimes, right?
It is. It's very challenging. Sometimes I just think of quitting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
this is something I can share with you. There's a very famous thinker. His name is Seth Godin. He has a concept called the dip. Okay, so basically there's a dip and then it goes up. Okay. Most people give up inside the dip, but everyone in that journey would have to go through that exact dip. The difference between a successful people and people who fail is that they know that it's a dip and they know that everyone is there and they just push through and go just that little bit more, right? So we don't exactly know whether you're in a dip or not until you're in it for long enough. So time will tell. If you're doing it for 5, 6, 7 years, and if things don't work out, sure, give up. But if you give up now, right, because you know it's the easy thing to do, then nothing's gonna happen. You know why? Because the next musician is gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the most talented people on earth, do you know where that is? It's the grave, because talents go with them into the grave, right? And I always love that is because I think it's very important for each and every one of us, because we're intrigued and pulled by different things that make us unique, right? Okay, now, what could the government do more in terms of the musical arts? There needs to be policies in place, there needs to be a framework, right? So what, say for example, you're talking to the policymakers now, you're talking to people who can decide now. What would you say if you are stepping into an elevator and you're pitching, right? So you have about 30 seconds. What would you say to just spark that thing that tipped the snowball and then creating an avalanche of change?
what would I say? I'd say it's time for a change. It's time to get down to the grassroots, to understand what people really want to do. And then not just, okay, because right now we have a lot of events. For example, the Jazz Festival,
Yes.
the Rainforest Music Festival.
Yes.
But all those focus on the upper part, so where you have already sort of made it.
Yes.
And then it's additional exposure for you. But
Sure.
nobody does the groundwork to develop more initiatives like that. So we have more people with talent going up.
Sure.
So
Context time. What's groundwork?
groundwork. So like actually going down education, promoting the arts, and actually implementing them in schools.
Yes.
Providing the infrastructure
Yes.
to support that growth. And even if they can't do it, throughout Sarawak, start as a pilot program.
Yes.
Start in a small group, and from there.
Music is taught in school, right? I still remember when I was little, we played the flute.
Correct, but it has
But
always
it's-
been. You're not wrong. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been taught in school, but it has always been seen as a subsidiary subject. So like something that can be replaced with an
Yes.
academic subject.
Yes.
Whenever
Yes.
it's needed.
Yes.
So it's not seen as important.
Yes, yes, understand. Okay. Whatever he was saying is extremely true because I was studying in Australia, my final year, year 12, so that's an STPM equivalent. I still remember I was so young, so that was my first year in Australia, so I needed to pick 6 subjects. As one of the 6 subjects, I picked drama. Okay, I dropped it after 4 lessons because when I went into the drama class, they were all Caucasians and they're so open and they're so loud and they're so flamboyant that I thought to myself, yeah, no, that's not for me. So yeah, I dropped it for political and legal studies. So it's something that right now, talking to you, I got reminded of that is because it's part of year 12. You can choose it, and then they had like an STPM level exam for it. And so people who actually excel in drama can then go to the School of Performing Arts in Western Australia and things like that. And so it's a whole ecosystem there that people can, so it's over here, it's just a thing, it's a KPI, so to speak.
Exactly, yeah, definitely. I mean,
go on.
I mean, in Singapore as well, right? So if you join, I think you're forced to sort of join, like a uniform group, an arts group, something like that. And if you, attend practice regularly, you have a good record on your CCA, you get points added to your, O-level results.
Sure.
And even if you want to get to a better school,
Yes.
it's not just based on your academic results, but you can audition with your talents. So there's that kind of network support there,
Yes.
which we don't get over here.
For sure. So, do you think parents play an important role in a kid's journey in music, or in the arts, even artists and things like that? Yeah.
I mean, most definitely, because when you first start off in the arts, it's never going to be easy.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of, you see people on stage enjoying what they do.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes is where you put in the hours and efforts into
Yes.
making it work, making
Yes.
it look natural.
Yes.
And a lot of kids give up halfway.
Oh, yeah.
So, for example, if in my case, if I were to, if my parents didn't force me and push me to continue doing it, I would have given up. And
Sure.
then I would have regretted it to this day.
But-
Actually,
You wouldn't know, you wouldn't regret because you wouldn't know what could have been, right?
it depends. You have friends who tell you, oh, I should have stick to my piano lessons.
Sure.
I can't play it anymore.
Okay,
That kind of
okay,
things.
okay.
You do get a sense of that.
Sure. So do your siblings regret not pursuing something in music?
In a way, they I wouldn't say that they regret it, not pursuing music.
Sure,
but then,
sure.
I'm sure they have a traumatic experience of being forced to play something that they didn't necessarily like. But
Okay.
it is an additional skill that one day it helps them to connect with their emotions, through music and stuff,
Yeah.
and understand when they watch a concert, they're like,
Yeah.
I understand what's happening here.
There's no doubt that we need to focus on the arts because we need to create a community or society of cultured people. And look at Singapore now, 50 years, 60 years down the road, right? I think that emphasis is extremely important. You would know the people around you that do music, that play an instrument, they feel different. We can't put a finger on it, but they feel different. It is only in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s even, that everyone goes to university.
Yeah.
And so now in the market, there are so many lawyers and doctors and whatever without a job because everyone graduates at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's
Yeah.
super interesting. So guys, we have come to the end of the show.
Untuk kita meneruskan bakat dan inovasi. Dalam hal ini, kerajaan telah meluluskan Performing Arts Center kita di Dun yang lama. Sekarang ini dalam pelaksanaan Datuk Karim kita dah nak tender it out. Jadi apabila siap nanti belia kita bak kata orang dingkah di laut boleh berenang, dingkah di darat boleh mendaki. That is the belia of Sarawak that we want to wujudkan.
Until next episode, not season, it's bye from us. Ciao.